Hey everybody, it's Jason from the Texas Gun Vault, and today I'm coming to you with a video about an installation of one of my favorite muzzle devices on an AR-15. This muzzle device is made by Knight's Armament, and I can't remember the exact part number. It's either the NT4 QD or the NT4 SS QD. Anyway, it comes in this little box right here. You get two things. You get the muzzle device and a shim kit. And the reason I'm going to be doing an installation video of this is, although this is like a birdcage flash hider, some people don't know when they're building AR-15s that when it comes to any muzzle device that is a QD attachment for a silencer, which is what this one is. This one's compatible with the Knight's Armament suppressor, the NT4, that you have to clock the flash hider with the barrel. Obviously, you want all the gases to go up in a very particular direction depending on how the muzzle device is designed. But also, you have to make sure that you do not use a crush washer. Now, most of the time when you're running a standard A2 birdcage flash hider, you're going to use a crush washer to time it. It actually makes it very easy. However, because you want the concentricity of the barrel to be consistent and as accurate as possible, you don't want to use a crush washer, which can actually warp the muzzle device to be a little bit offset. And so you want it to either be flush against the ledge, or you have to use a shim kit, and that's what comes with this. So this looks very much like an A2 style birdcage flash hider. However, it has a little notch here in the bottom, and that's what times the suppressor onto the flash hider. I'm waiting for it to get in focus there. I think it's a very attractive flash hider, and from all the builds that I've used this particular flash hider on, it's actually worked really well. People would think, oh, it's just an A2, you're not going to get that much flash suppression from it. I gotta say, I've been really impressed with this thing. I've run this on 10.5-inch barrels, and I don't really get a lot of muzzle flash. This thing has been fantastic. But this thing will also allow me to run my Knight's Armament suppressor on this upper receiver. So I'm going to show you guys what I personally do when it comes to mounting a QD style flash hider and using the shim kit to install this correctly. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is remove the old flash hider. Now, I've already kind of loosened it up a little bit just to save time. However, I wanted to show you something that I do to prevent myself from marring the flash hider from future use, or the flash hider when I install it. They're going to use a standard 3/4 wrench. However, I always put a little bit of this masking tape over the teeth, and it just prevents true metal on metal contact. And I've discovered that sometimes it tightens up the wrench onto the flash hider and also prevents it from marring if somehow the wrench would slip. So I'm just going to go ahead and remove this right now. As I said, I've already kind of loosened it up. Not really a big deal here. This is super easy. Just remove it. And of course we have the crush washer. You're never ever ever supposed to reuse a crush washer. So if you were going to replace this with another basic flash hider, you always have to buy yourself another crush washer. They're only about $1.99 from most places. The next thing I'll do is just clean off the threads here. Sometimes companies will put a little bit of thread locker on them, but if it uses a crush washer, typically they will not. And if the barrel is well used, sometimes you might also get a little bit of like carbon lock or corrosion or buildup on those threads. So I like to just kind of wipe it down there. The next thing I'm going to do is get out the shim kit here, kind of open this thing up. Now sometimes we'll be lucky and we don't actually have to use the shim kit, but most of the time you will. It does come with a little bit of thread locker. Now I'm going to say on this particular device, I'm not going to use the thread locker, because if you truly tighten it down and have the shims right, it's not going to turn itself off. Plus, the Knight's Armament suppressor does not twist on and off the suppressor. So you won't have to worry about when you're taking the suppressor on and off the firearm that if the flash hider is not locked down, that somehow it's going to walk off. That's just not a concern. Plus, you may want to remove it in the future. And I have used this Knight's Armament thread locker in the past. I believe this is Rockset, and I have had flash hiders get stuck on that I couldn't even burn them off. So I'm not really a big fan of making something that's supposed to be semi-permanent permanent. So I'm going to put that to the side. And then you get the shim kit here. and you should have about 7 shims, I believe, of various sizes, and you can always tell the thickness by how many notches there are in the washer. So I'm going to kind of show this here, maybe up close. And so this has 2 notches on it. Some of them, like the thinner ones, will have more. So this one has 5 or 6 notches. And then somewhere in here you have a washer that doesn't have any at all, and that's the thickest. So you can use a combination of any of these to get the perfect timing. So the first thing I always do is to hopefully see, maybe I'll be lucky, and I'll be able to install this, and I won't even need a shim kit. So let's just kind of find out where our base is when it comes to screwing this thing on. Who knows? I have been lucky in the past, but often I am not. So let's see here. Well, I am not going to be lucky on this one. So let's see here. How far off am I? So you got to kind of figure out when you're putting this on where the base of the muzzle device is. And let me see here. The notch, actually, I don't know. That would be darn close. I don't know. I may have to shim it. I don't know how much turn once I tighten it down I'm going to get. So I need to have it turn by about, I would say like 1/16 of a turn. So it's going to be close. I don't think it's going to clock perfectly, but I'm going to go ahead and give it a shot. So we'll see. So right now it's just hand tight. And I'm not going to tighten it down too much, especially because the vise that I have, this is not a barrel vise, this is just an upper vise. So as long as you don't really crank down on it hard, you're not going to have it bend, but it's not designed for a lot of torquing on the barrel. So I typically don't torque it down too much. So I'm going to go ahead and slide the wrench on, and I'm going to see how far I can actually get this thing to go. And believe it or not, it actually timed correctly. Well, I am so glad that I got this thing on camera. I really can't believe it. I'm just looking at it here. The top hole, or the top slot, is actually facing directly up, and the notch on the bottom is directly where it should be. So actually, I lucked out on this one. I cannot believe it. So I didn't have to use any of these shims, which the whole point of this video was to show the shim kit. However, if you did, I always start with the thinnest shims first, and then you can use different combinations. I don't want to use too many where the distance between the ledge and the flash hider becomes too big. So I'll always try to use the thinnest washers and trying to figure out how far do I have to time it. And then if I realize, okay, so if I need 2 of the thin washers, I'll move up to kind of a medium-sized washer and a thin washer and so forth. So I try to reduce how many washers I have to use to time the muzzle device. So now that I got this on, I'm gonna go get the silencer, let's mount it up and see what it looks like. And there you go. Now this M4 clone is ready for the range. So check that out. That is a very attractive silencer on a very attractive Colt/Knights Armament gun. So there you go. So installing the Knights Armament QD flash hider. And I gotta say, I'm glad I got it on film that I was lucky and didn't have to use the shim kit. So there you go. So now people can believe me. So anyways, let me know if you have any questions, and if you're looking for a flash hider, even if you don't have a Knights Armament suppressor and don't plan on running a suppressor on it, I definitely look at this particular flash hider. It's always worked really well, especially on my short barrel builds. So I know something with a 14.5-inch barrel or even a 16-inch barrel would work even better. So there you go. So let me know if you have any questions, and as always, thanks for watching.